What we saw in there is very simple. We saw humans being held in cages. You heard it from Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. 32 people per cage. 3 toilets in each cage for these 32 people, and their drinking water comes from the toilet. People are on the toilet, you can't drink water. What we also heard, there was so much ambiguity on under what authority people are being held here, and whether this is a state facility or a federal facility. They kept state legislators out, trying to claim it's a federal facility. Then perhaps they would try to keep us out today if it came unannounced, saying it's a state facility. And what we heard very clear is ICE is giving them the directions from A to Z. These members of Congress are able to come here unannounced. And we will come here unannounced. Because, of course, like I said earlier today, a clean cage is still a cage. And they couldn't even keep this clean. I'll tell you, we couldn't even see the actual toilets that the detainees are using. Some of the biggest complaints we've heard is, yes, there's 3 toilets, but a lot of the time, only one is working. And they get backed up, feces being spread everywhere.
Breaking news, everyone. This is the toilet where we poop and pee, right? This is the water that feeds into that toilet, right? This reservoir is connected to the toilet bowl. The water is connected. The congressman that went to Alligator Alcatraz reported yesterday that the migrants and people detained there are having to drink the water from this reservoir, essentially, that is connected to the toilet that they poop in. Would you drink this water? No, I don't think so. And they're being forced to. Now, this is one of the many, many violations and human rights abuses going on at Alligator Alcatraz, and this needs to be stopped. This is not right. They're human beings. Whether they're here legally or illegally, this is not how we treat detainees in the United States of America.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media boo-hoo, whining, and crying about Alligator Alcatraz, right? Because they're claiming that they're building concentration camps. Now, the liberal definition of concentration camp basically can be applied to any jail in the United States of America, in which some of these people are so radical that they don't believe in jails or prisons, okay? So if they're going to protest against so-called concentration camps for illegal immigrants, they should probably be protesting against jails and prisons too, which would fit their definition of a concentration camp.
People trying to compare Alligator Alcatraz to a concentration camp is not only disingenuous, but it's absolutely disgusting because these two hold absolutely no parallels.
They hold no parallels, huh? Well, let's just see what the dictionary has to say about that. Concentration camp. Let's look at the definition. A place where a large number of people, such as prisoners of war, political prisoners, refugees, or the members of an ethnic or religious minority, are detained or confined under armed guard. Seems to me that Alligator Alcatraz precisely meets the definition of a concentration camp. And in your video, you go on to defend the need for Alligator Alcatraz and why it's not even close to a concentration camp and how it's disgusting to compare the two. This is exactly how the camps in Poland started. They didn't start as unaliving camps. They started as concentration camps. And it's interesting that you're taking this position because it's not like this is uncharted territory for us. This exact thing has happened before in this country with the Japanese internment camps. And that, to this day, is a stain on the moral history of this country. And the lack of learning from our history notwithstanding, it's a strange take in general just to be defending anything that comes remotely close to a concentration camp. Because the people who have done that have never been on the right side of history.
Yeah, so again, watch out for liberals now protesting against prisons and jails, okay, because that would meet their definition of a concentration camp, right? But again, they will just call this whatever because they want to radicalize people into believing that we're living in Nazi Germany, right? That's essentially where we're at, okay? When you don't have anything, when you don't have a good argument, okay, when you're actually losing, okay, the public, okay, this is what you do, right? You start to ratchet up the rhetoric to a place where you want people to believe that we are, in fact, living in Nazi Germany. But the reality is that I think normal, regular, everyday people understand what's happening. And why we're doing what we're doing is called a deterrent, right? If you don't want to end up in this so-called concentration camp, then don't come here illegally. It's really that simple. That Or if you are here illegally, then self-deport, which is the message that Kristi Noem is going to send to Kristen Welker, who's going to boohoo, whine, and cry on behalf of Democrats over Alligator Alcatraz being so inhumane for illegals. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Reaction, a federal judge in Los Angeles temporarily blocked ICE raids in Southern California, saying that federal agents cannot target people without reasonable suspicion and using factors like skin color, the language that people speak. Will you comply with the judge's order?
Absolutely, but we've never done that. We've never done that. What we have always done is built a case and done investigative work in who we go after and who we target. And so this judge is ridiculous in the fact that he put forward a decision like this. We will appeal it and we will win it, because over and over again, when our ICE officers are out there getting the worst of the worst off of our streets, they're using the investigative backgrounds and information that they have from either criminal records or what they have for charges, or individuals who are breaking our federal laws that need to be brought to justice.
Madam Secretary, Tom Homan, the White House border czar, said as much this week. He told Fox News that physical appearance was a factor in detaining individuals. What do you say to those who hear that and say that is racial profiling?
The facts of how we do our investigations and our casework and what ICE officers are doing today is they're going out there and building a case just like other law enforcement officers do. They're going out there and doing the investigative work, gathering the information to decide how we're going to run our ops and how we're going to target individuals. And overwhelmingly, people have heard the president say over and over again about how important it is that we continue to go after the worst of the worst. This week, we've got murderers off the street, rapists, child pedophiles. If you look at that marijuana grow facility that we recently just did an operation on, over 319 individuals were brought into custody, and 14 unaccompanied children that means that they don't have their parents with them. They're working in a facility where they could be exploited, trafficked, maybe sex trafficked, and then we've got individuals there who are working at the same facility who are creating, distributing, and taking advantage of children for child pornography. So this is something that President Trump has taken seriously, is protecting children while we're doing
couple
this.
more here.
Facts. And the crazy part is that the media is not concerned about that. They're concerned, are you racially profiling the illegals? Are you arresting people because they look Hispanic or they look Haitian, right? And it's like, first and foremost, again, they're trying to play people like they're dumb. They're trying to say, well, Tom Homan said physical appearance is a factor. Well, of course, physical appearance is a factor. How the hell are you supposed to identify a person, right? You got to identify them by their physical appearance. If you look like the criminal that we're investigating, then yeah, we're gonna detain you, right? Yes, physical appearance will be a factor. You can't detain somebody if you're not using physical appearance, right? Physical appearance has to be a part of it because you're looking for specific people, right? So again, they're trying to play the American people like they're dumb, and they're trying to spin that comment into, well, you're racially profiling. Right, you're just looking for random black and brown people to round up, and it's like, that's not what they're doing. Okay, that's not what they're doing at all. But again, they think that their audience is so dumb that they can push this, and nobody is going to critically think about exactly what is being said. But yeah, the problem here is that the media, they're not focused on the actual wins or the good things that the Trump administration is doing. Like Kristi Noem just pointed out. I mean, you talk about having a pot farm where you have children, young children, growing pot, doing slave labor. Right? And for whatever reason, the media has not expressed any concern about this, right? Nobody's saying anything about this, like, hey, should we be allowing this? In fact, no, they've been defending it. Again, I did a video a couple days ago about Abby Phillip on CNN. Defending, well, technically it's legal. No, it's not technically legal. They're here illegally. So it's illegal in and of itself because they're here illegally. And then on top of that, again, they're children working on pot farms, which is not something that I believe is allowed in this country. But that's what's happening, okay? And there's zero concern whatsoever for how they got there and why are we allowing this. But again, they're more concerned, are you racially profiling the illegals? Oh, where are they staying? Oh, Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, it's like, come on. Like, when will the media actually prioritize what the American people actually care about? Which is the fact that we have crime happening in this country because of illegal immigration, and that is coming to a halt, right? Those things are being stopped. And people are being protected. And for whatever reason, the media doesn't want to focus on that. They want to focus on these made-up controversies.
Or if we can get them in. Florida lawmakers visited the migrant detention center in Florida, which your administration has dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that the conditions there are inhumane, more than 30 people stuffed into a jail cell. She said they get their drinking water and they brush their teeth from the same place where they go to the bathroom. Madam Secretary, what do you say to these lawmakers who argue this is not humane treatment of individuals, of humans?
Well, our detention centers at the federal level are held to a higher standard than most local or state centers and even federal prisons. The standards are extremely high. Now, this is a state-run facility at Alligator Alcatraz, but they have a
stuffed into a jail
they have
cell?
a contrast. Well, I've been there and I've seen these rooms that they are in. I wouldn't call them jail cells. I would call them a facility where they are held and that are secure facilities, but are held to the highest levels of what the federal government requires for detention facilities.
Democrats have called them cages, though. They say
I wish they would have said that back
and
during the Biden administration and back when Democrats were in the White House and they were piling people on top of each other on cement floors and literally didn't have 2 feet to move. They never did that, and that's why this politics has to end. We took cameras in there. We will take cameras in there and show people what these facilities look like, because if you compare them to what happened under the Biden administration and under the Obama administration, these centers are at the highest levels, and they're even higher than what our federal prison standards are or state or local often are.
And yet your deportation policies are different, and you are finding new facilities, including this one, Alligator Alcatraz, and you say there could be more very quickly.
We are looking for more information and how we can get more detention centers. But I would encourage people to self-deport. That is the easiest thing for these families to do, because then you get the chance to come back. Then you get the chance to come back to the United States, and that's exactly what we want, is them to do it the right way.
All right. Secretary Kristi Noem, thank you so much for being here.
What is so controversial about that? Right? What's so controversial about this? I'm trying to figure out what's so inhumane about this. Again, it's almost as if Democrats, they want the illegals to be living in 5-star hotels. Oh, wait, we know for a fact that's what they want, because that's what was happening under Biden, right? And for whatever reason, they didn't have a problem with that, okay? Using your tax dollars to have these illegals housed in hotels, living better than a lot of these liberal, constituents in these inner cities, right? Living better than them, okay? But yet, nobody had a problem with that. You didn't have a problem with that. The media didn't question that. But now all of a sudden, you boo, whine, and cry because illegals are being housed in what to me appears to be like a jail, right? They're being housed in jails. Who cares if they've been put in cages? They were in cages under Obama and Biden, and none of these people were upset about this, right? At least not the Democrat establishment. They weren't upset about it. Now all of a sudden, they're crying. And it's like, nah, I don't want to hear the tears. I don't want to hear tears, because Biden should not have let all these people into the country, okay? And ultimately, they have an option. They can self-deport, right? If they don't want to end up in Alligator Alcatraz, they can self-deport. It's called a deterrent, okay? Something that apparently Democrats don't believe in. Deterrents work, okay? That's why we have so many reports of self-deportations that upwards of 1 million illegals have already left the country, because they're like, nah, I'd rather leave on my own terms than to end up in a place like Alligator Alcatraz. And because it's so effective, this is what they're upset about. Democrats are mad because their voter base is leaving, right? They're leaving in droves, and they're being deported. And this is what they're upset about. This is what they're really upset about, guys. This is what they're mad about, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.